Although many mainstream academics continue to toe the line in regard to our planet's ancient history, who built these inexplicable ruins found all over our Earth, yet, perhaps most importantly to their job security, continue to claim as to know when they built them. Many suspiciously popular YouTubers who have mysteriously sprouted up over the last few years, all with an eye to discredit the work of individuals such as ourselves. A dismissal and opposition, which, like that of those from the academic sector, they too have no valid explanation or defense for the mass of evidence we have collected, resorting to ad hominem attacks and simply attempting to insult our style of content creation, and indeed, your intelligence and critical thinking faculties. Rarely brave enough to actually debate any of the evidence we present. The vast array of matching tool marks, unexplained masonry, the implementation of enormous stones, or indeed the incredible distances this lost civilization once transported these megaliths. Advanced architectural weight-bearing designs, advanced metallurgy, earthquake-proof mortarless structures, statues depicting the same poses and symbology separated by thousands of miles, pyramids now revealed as on nearly every continent, the apparent melting of stone with laser-like precision and so forth. These individuals continue to expect you to swallow a literal opinion, an assumption, or worse, a deliberate lie in the face of glaring facts. Facts which, when presented to the wider world, will prove their opinions not only shaky, but had an incentivized funded foundation, which has not only actively concealed this truth from the world at large, but will soon crumble under its own lack of supporting factors. Factors such as those which could explain how such opinions were established in the first place. Opinions which will soon be clear to all as completely absent of any explanatory demonstrations or proofs in any form, proof of any kind, which support these long-held claims of who built these sites, and more crucially, how. Although the many tool marks we have identified all over the world could be used alone as proof of the global reach of this lost, yet once highly sophisticated civilization. For wherever you find these markings, such as the cup and scoop marks most synonymous with the unfinished obelisk of Aswan, wherever you find the enormous megalithic stonework, you will surely find these tool marks, along with the many other ancient anomalies we have shared in previous videos. Polygonal masonry, for example, or indeed the advanced metal clamping methods also found worldwide, do seem to overlap at many of these ancient sites. Sites we intend to isolate via a pin map, creating a visualization of these lost ancient anomalies locations, a color-coded geographical display of the reach of each of these ancient technologies and developments. We intend to present this in our first of many upcoming books, a first of its kind in an attempt to prove or disprove once and for all if all of these sites overlap. It will reveal via the overlapping of the patterns whether these all the work of the same global civilization or rather the work of several, so keep your eyes open for its release date. However, this ability to lift and work enormous stones, we now feel can be used to isolate not only the rough age of many of these megalithic ruins, but could reveal the time within our Earth's lost history, where this civilization experienced an as yet to be established event. A possible cataclysm, followed by a flood, which wiped them out mid-construction, leaving their many source quarries eerily and abruptly abandoned, frozen in time, with many unfinished and unliberated megaliths found everywhere. If one were to entertain their existence as fact, and indeed presume that whatever happened to them sent them hurtling back into a Stone Age, we would expect to see remnants of this lost knowledge still present within these groups, within their Stone Age ruins, a group which, although we at present would perceive as the start of our civilization, could too be the surviving remnants of a previous civilization also. You would expect those who we call the Neoliths to have still retained their sophisticated astronomical knowledge, which would have allowed them to build huge and precise astronomical clocks, or rather henges. You would also expect them to still have remnants of the knowledge and indeed ability to cut and transport huge megaliths, which, although lacking refinement due to an absence of surviving tech, would still be utilized in the creation of their homes, such as the dolmens, or within the many granges they were able to somehow build up via huge earthworks. Structures clearly of illogical sizes if one were to perceive these people as barely past the discovery of fire and before the wheel. Such an event could have possibly been the result of a polar shift, or at the very least the tilting of Earth's axis. This new path for the sun, then tracked and recorded in stone, perhaps in an effort to re-establish their bearings within the universe. You would expect to find similar megalithic structures, or indeed the utilization of large, seemingly immovable stones within their dwellings. You would expect to see remnants of these lost capabilities not just present within one group upon one landmass, but one would expect to see similarities within their structures worldwide, seemingly coming up with the same solutions or rather methods for working huge stones. This would be due to having once been connected, and with untouched remains found atop and below countless highly controversial and thus heavily debated sites, such as the Pyramid of the Sun discovered by Sam Osmanagic within Bosnia, the largely untouched ruins discovered within Indonesia, or indeed the many still buried and hidden pyramids located across Eastern Europe, all independently carbon dated to around 30 to 32,000 BC. We have a timeline of events which would fit snugly up against the official chronology of Neolithic man. Could these datings, and indeed the aforementioned evidence, suggest they were one and the same people, indicating that whatever happened to this once great megalithic moving group occurred just prior to the arrival of Stone Age man within the archaeological record? In an upcoming video, we will explore the polygonal masonry found across the globe, a lost knowledge so intricate and baffling, it has taken us over 10 years to establish just one working theory for how some of these walls were created, let alone the many varying styles and seemingly bended and melted stones. Earthquake-proof, mortarless walls with stones made with beveled edges, another among a long list of ancient anomalies. Smoking guns from a now lost civilization, which I intend to expose to the world in my next series of videos. Astonishing facts which clearly demonstrate mainstream's faulty narrative, one that is destined to be disproven en masse. An inevitable critical mass of awareness is coming, one that I will continue to fight for. It is a path to enlightenment which we find highly compelling. There is a conspiracy regarding our past, which, if true, so big, so far-reaching, it would not only have drastically changed the course of human history, but hidden by world powers for generations through the facilitation of false flag events and even battling world wars. A claimed alternate reality, which if found true, is a secret discovered and attempted to be given to the masses over the years by some of the greatest yet also most ostracized minds of our age. A conspiracy that would not only explain the existence of inexplicably enormous buildings throughout our world, with seemingly no explanation for their constructions, materials, methodology, or real age. A theory which would not only explain the past purpose for the Great Pyramid, but also the exact purpose for their construction, their purpose for being. A lost civilization, one which apparently possessed world peace, constructed enormous grandiose buildings, and had access to limitless, completely free wireless energy throughout their world. And although such claims may appear to many as mere fantasy, a fairy tale, I would like to present a far-reaching sequence of events. A significant, although at present circumstantial array of evidence which, if all eventually corroborated as fact, will make you reconsider the entire world around you. One which, although you may find yourself in today, if this lost place finally successfully unraveled, could change forever. There have long been claims of a supposed mud flood, a mysterious event occurring far back within Earth's history. But what if this flood far more recent? What if through some process of mass migration, this civilization was simply replaced, an enormous section of history erased, stitched together with pieces from other chronologies all together? This is but one theory. Whatever happened, the buildings don't lie. What could have happened to this civilization? There is significant and quite strange evidence to support such claims of their prior existence. A world flood, which possibly wiped them out. This flood redistributing enormous levels of Earth over different areas of the planet, in doing so burying many parts of this lost civilization's legacy, with what survived often being left partially submerged in mud. Additionally, many of these buildings having photographs indeed claim to have been taken just after their construction. These buildings often found on hills, but also seemingly surrounded by no roads. Why build structures of such size without first installing roads? Perhaps more importantly, how does one accomplish such a feat? Furthermore, there is a notable absence of people in all of these images, as if our modern civilization merely re-inhabited these places a mere few generations ago. However, this does not explain the presence of native Indians within the Americas prior to its Western colonization. Yet, the conspiracy goes much deeper. Tartaria originates within or was possibly rediscovered by Russian nationalists. Thus, its roots or the truth of the conspiracy perhaps lay within a dark secret. Perhaps Tartaria itself, a failed supremacist civilization. Could this explain the absence of it within world history and indeed the abandoning of their accomplishments? And although these old magnificent buildings are found throughout the West, are now argued as also that of this lost empire, many of the buildings synonymous with Russia are claimed by the original proponents of the theory as the original capital of Tartaria, a conspiracy Walt Disney perhaps used as inspiration for his design of Disneyland. Yet undoubtedly the most compelling claim is that of them seemingly possessing free, limitless, wireless energy. Something which none other than Nikola Tesla, it has long been claimed, was trying to give to the world. Why would a civilization with access to such great gifts not share them with others? And why would they, along with Tesla's work, be hidden from the greater world? Tesla also infamously claimed to have deciphered the secret of the pyramids, and with the newly discovered anomaly found beneath Khafre, could the Great Pyramid, along with Tesla's discovery, have something to do with an energy field, one which is found all around us, yet has been decidedly hidden? One that is claimed to have not only powered Tartaria's streets, its lamps, buildings, air vehicles, the entire Tartarian Empire. A field such as that of the ionosphere, possibly utilized for the navigation of airships, and ether, which by mastering its polarity allowed for free unlimited air travel. Could the UFOs we are seeing today be an advanced form of this technology? Could we be at the forefront of exposing this lost history once and for all? Regardless, the question remains, why, if this civilization true, was it hidden from the world? Did it fall into a trap of its own making, failing in their responsibility to possess such powerful gifts? It is as if entire chapters of history literally changed and were then stitched together to conceal a guilty secret. Yet, again, I digress. We find the possibilities and indeed the evidence for the Tartarian Empire highly compelling. What if entire chapters of human history are a lie? A fallacy built to fill in gaps within our civilization's recollection of the past, one which for some reason has become completely forgotten. If one were to suggest, for example, that ancient serpents of Jurassic proportions did not die out at the end of the Cretaceous period, but were spared this fate, perhaps surviving far into a more recent history, would one simply scoff at such a suggestion, subsequently overlooking the following artifacts? Here, for example, is an apparent Neanderthal cave drawing. It depicts a bipedal dinosaur with small arms in head-to-head combat with a mammoth. This image collected by Dr. Jack Quozo for his book Buried Alive. It was taken by the author in Bernifel Cave, a little-known prehistoric cavern in France. The area, however, is renowned for Neanderthal art. Neanderthal mammoth drawings are not unusual. However, cave art depicting that of a theropod dinosaur is remarkably lesser shared. In 600 BC, King Nebuchadnezzar commissioned a Babylonian artist with shaping the reliefs of animals upon the Ishtar Gate. In 1899, archaeologist Robert Coldaway would rediscover these depictions, the animals appearing in alternating rows showing lions, bulls, and curious long-necked creatures known as the Sirush. Coldaway believed that the Sirush were indeed a real animal, and in 1918, he proposed that the dinosaur Iguanodon was the closest known match to the Sirush. However, this same word Sirush is mentioned within the book of Bel and the Dragon, found within the Apocrypha. Both the description and this mysterious wall, now displayed within the Berlin Vorderasiatisches Museum, fit perfectly with that of a sauropod dinosaur. The amount of depictions of ancient dinosaurs within and upon ancient art is simply too large to be covered in one video. Yet the evidence so vast, we find it curious how many simply dismiss such possibilities as nothing more than myth. Along with physical evidence, such as that of the Paluxy footprint, that although used to promote many ulterior theories, is an artifact so baffling it is hard for anyone on either side to explain just how it was made. The term dinosaur was only coined in 1842, so the next artifact of interest is no less bafflingly compelling. Painted by Peter Bruce Gale in 1562. The painting, the title of which conveniently lost to time, depicts various scenes within one landscape as if trying to give us a window into the goings-on at the time the artwork is conveying. populated by war, ruin, and also various animals, all in some form of migratory passage. Not only animals, but clearly also a humanoid population, one which is accompanied, again, by a familiar-looking animal, one in which they have seemingly tamed and are riding upon. Known within urban legend as a long neck, its massive body, again, uncannily resembling that of a sauropod, a group of long-necked dinosaurs, similar to that of a brachiosaurus or apatosaurus. And although opponents to the claims of it being a fictional depiction, claiming that Gale perhaps had access to fossils, and somehow managed to not only piece them together, but recreate the animal's appearance. He also seemingly chose to make the animal tame, even though he would have had no reason to have done this, having human figures actually riding these beasts during their migratory scene. What did Gale see? Why are there so many clear depictions of dinosaurs across the world throughout ancient art? How did all these ancient civilizations not only know of the past existence of these animals, but also exactly what they looked like? How is this possible, along with such artifacts as that of the Paluxy footprint, if a pocket of these creatures did not survive until far later than we are led to believe, perhaps as depicted, even once roaming the earth with man? How does one explain such finds, and in such vast numbers? We find such artifacts, and indeed the mystery attached, highly compelling.